They stop replying. No argument, no goodbye, just silence. And suddenly your mind starts begging for answers. You check your phone once, twice, 100 times. You start wondering what you did wrong, what you should fix, what message might finally make them respond. But here's the truth no one tells you. The moment you chase a reply, you lose your dignity. Marcus Aurelius faced war's betrayal and loss, and yet he warned us about this exact moment. He said, you don't control their silence, you only control your response. Because silence is not confusion. Silence is a decision. And if you answer silence with desperation, you teach the world how little you value yourself. But there is one Stoic rule that turns rejection into power and silence into self-respect. Stay with me. This rule may save you from losing yourself. Part 1. The pain of silence. Relatable story. Imagine this. You send a message. Not a dramatic one, not a needy one, just honest. And then time begins to stretch. An hour passes, then 6, then 12, and finally a full day. Your phone stays dark, no vibration, no notification. And without you noticing it at first, something subtle begins to crack inside you. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts start looping. Your ego quietly wakes up and whispers, send one more message. Clarify what you meant. Fix it before it's too late. Pause here for a second. Take a breath. This right here is the moment most people lose their dignity. Psychologists have found that more than 70% of people send a follow-up message not because they have something important to say, but because being ignored triggers anxiety. And that anxiety feels unbearable. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That feeling isn't love. It isn't connection. It's fear. Fear of being unseen. Fear of not being chosen. Fear of silence. 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophers had a name for this. They called it dependence on externals. Marcus Aurelius warned about it when he wrote that, if you are distressed by anything outside yourself, the pain is not caused by the thing itself, but by your judgment about it. Read that again in your mind. The silence didn't hurt you. Your interpretation of the silence did. Let that sink in. Breathe in and out. Every extra message you send after being ignored is not neutral. It carries a hidden cost. With each explanation, each apology, each attempt to reopen the conversation, you give away something invisible but powerful. Your self-respect. Because the moment you chase attention, you quietly place someone else above your own worth. Here's the part most people never hear. Silence does not mean you are unworthy, but chasing often makes you look like you doubt your own value. And uncertainty is deeply unattractive in every human relationship, whether it's love, friendship, or work. Think about it honestly. Have you ever respected someone more after they begged for attention? Of course not. Reset again. Inhale. Exhale. Silence feels personal, but it's not always about you. What defines you is not their response. What defines you is how you respond to the absence of one. And this is where most people collapse emotionally. But in the next part, Marcus Aurelius offers a simple Stoic rule that stops this suffering immediately and restores your dignity. Stay with me because understanding this rule changes everything. Part 2. Marcus Aurelius' Stoic rule. Marcus Aurelius was not a man who spoke to be admired. He was a man who wrote to survive himself. While others saw him as the most powerful emperor on earth, commanding legions and ruling an empire of millions, his private writings tell a very different story. They reveal a man constantly reminding himself how easy it is to lose control, not over the world, but over his own mind. And this is why his words still matter today, especially in moments like this. Moments of silence. Moments when someone stops replying and your thoughts begin to unravel. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This was not philosophy for comfort. It was instruction for survival. Because he understood something most people still struggle to accept, the world will withhold answers, closure, and validation, and if your peace depends on receiving them, you will always suffer. Pause here. Take a slow breath in and out. Here is the Stoic rule that saves your dignity when someone goes silent. Never chase what chooses silence. Say that again in your mind. Never chase what chooses silence. This rule is not about pride. It is not about punishment. And it is not about pretending you don't care. It is about self-mastery. Stoics believe that dignity begins the moment you stop begging external events to cooperate with your emotions. Silence in Stoic philosophy is not cruelty. It is information. It is a signal. And wise people do not argue with signals. They observe them. In modern psychology, silence is classified as a behavioral decision, not an accident. When someone does not respond, they are communicating something even if they never say a word. Marcus Aurelius understood this intuitively. He trained himself to treat silence the same way he treated rain illness or time passing, as something outside his control and therefore undeserving of emotional chaos. Here is where most people break. When someone stops replying, they believe the solution is action. Another message, another explanation, another emotional investment. But Marcus Aurelius would tell you the opposite. The moment you chase, you surrender your strongest position, because power does not live in reaction, it lives in restraint. Reset here. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Notice he did not say revenge through punishment or manipulation. He meant revenge through discipline, through remaining unmoved, through refusing to let another person's behavior drag you into emotional weakness. When you chase silence, you communicate one thing very clearly: I need this outcome to feel okay. And the Stoic response to that is brutal but freeing. You do not need the outcome. You need alignment with your own values. Stoicism teaches that peace comes not from controlling others, but from refusing to abandon yourself. Here is a shocking truth supported by both ancient wisdom and modern data. Studies on social dynamics show that people who demonstrate emotional restraint during rejection are perceived as more confident and more valuable, not because they played games, but because they displayed self-trust. Silence met with composure signals strength. Silence met with desperation signals dependence. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire under constant threat of betrayal. He knew that chasing loyalty never created it. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." B1. Applied here, waste no more time arguing with silence. Respond with character. Pause again. Let that settle. The Stoic rule, never chase what chooses silence, does something subtle but profound. It shifts your identity from seeker to sovereign. You are no longer someone waiting to be chosen. You are someone who chooses how to behave regardless of circumstances. And that shift changes everything. This rule does not guarantee that someone will come back. Stoicism never promises outcomes. It promises alignment. And alignment is what preserves dignity. Because even if they never reply again, you walk away whole, untouched, unbroken, unashamed. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Chasing silence violates both. It is not right to abandon your self-respect. And it is not true that you need another person's response to validate your worth. Reset one last time. Inhale, exhale. In the next part, we will break down exactly why this rule works so powerfully in real life. We'll look at the two paths people take when silence appears, and why one path destroys dignity while the other quietly multiplies it. Stay with me, because once you understand this, you will never respond to silence the same way again. Part 3. Why this Stoic rule saves your dignity. When someone stops replying, life quietly places a fork in the road in front of you. Most people don't realize this moment matters. They think it's small, temporary, emotional. But in reality, this is a defining psychological test, and almost everyone fails it. There are only two paths from here, and both feel uncomfortable at first. But only one protects your dignity. The first path is the one most people take without thinking. The path of chasing. You tell yourself you're just being honest. You send a follow-up message to clear things up, then another to explain your intentions. Maybe you apologize even though you're not sure what you did wrong. You soften your words. You lower your standards. You hope reassurance will come if you just try a little harder. Pause here. Take a breath. This path feels active, but it is actually reactive. And psychology is very clear about what happens next. Studies on interpersonal dynamics show that when a person sends multiple messages after being ignored, they are perceived as less confident and less valuable. In one behavioral analysis, People who sent more than 3 follow-up messages after silence were 67% less likely to regain respect or interest from the other person. Why? Because chasing communicates need, and need signals imbalance. Marcus Aurelius understood this centuries before data existed. He wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your thoughts are anxious, your actions become anxious, and anxious actions erode dignity. Reset here. Inhale slowly. Exhale. The second path is far quieter. It feels uncomfortable in a different way. This is the path of standing still. You stop messaging, you don't explain, you don't chase closure. You allow the silence to exist without trying to control it. And at first this feels like loss, like surrender, like you're doing nothing. But this is where the power shift happens. Standing still communicates something rare in modern life. Self-trust. You are telling the world without saying a word, I respect myself enough to not beg for attention. And that message is felt immediately, even if the other person never consciously realizes it. Here's the paradox. When you stop chasing, respect begins to grow. Not because you played a strategy, not because you manipulated anyone, but because you remain centered while most people unravel. Marcus Aurelius did not rule an empire by reacting to every provocation. He ruled by restraint, by choosing when not to act. He wrote, "You can hold your breath until you turn blue, but the river will keep flowing." Silence is that river. You don't stop it by splashing wildly. You stand firm and let it pass. Reset again. Breathe in, breathe out. This is why the Stoic rule saves your dignity. It protects you from the most dangerous loss of all, abandoning yourself. When you chase someone who has gone silent, you quietly tell yourself that their response matters more than your principles. And that is a debt you will feel long after the conversation ends. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who seem grounded, respected, unshaken. Do they chase attention, or do they move forward regardless of who follows? Exactly. Standing still is not weakness, it is restraint. And restraint is one of the highest forms of power. Neuroscience supports this too. Emotional regulation. The ability to resist impulsive reactions is directly linked to higher perceived leadership attractiveness and trustworthiness. Say this with me. Self-control is more impressive than persuasion. Pause. Let it land. Now here's the part that surprises people. Often when you stop chasing, the dynamic changes. Sometimes the silence breaks, sometimes it doesn't. But either way you win. Because your dignity is no longer tied to an outcome you can't control. Marcus Aurelius warned against outsourcing your peace when he wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less. Less chasing, less explaining, less emotional negotiation. Doing less does not mean caring less. It means valuing yourself more." Reset one more time. Inhale, exhale. When you choose the path of standing still, you reclaim something essential. Agency. You are no longer reacting to silence. You are responding to life. And this prepares you for the next step, the most important one of all. In the next part, we will turn this philosophy into action. You'll learn exactly how to apply this Stoic rule in real life day by day without suppressing emotions or pretending you don't feel. Because Stoicism is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming directed. Stay with me. The practical application changes everything. Part 4. Stoic Practical Application. Very important. Now let's turn philosophy into action, because Stoicism was never meant to stay on paper. Marcus Aurelius did not write to sound wise. He wrote to survive pressure, loss, and responsibility. And this is where most people misunderstand Stoicism. They think it means suppressing emotion, becoming cold, or pretending not to care. That is not Stoicism. Stoicism is direction. It is choosing where your energy goes when life refuses to cooperate. So here is the Stoic practical application when someone stops replying. And it begins with one uncompromising rule. If they stop replying, you stop too. Not for a day, not as a test, but as a decision. You do not send a just checking-in message. You do not write a long explanation. You do not emotionally unload in hopes of relief, because every one of those actions pulls you back into reaction mode. Pause here. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do. Only what you do. This is the shift. The moment silence appears, your task is not to get a response. Your task is to regain authorship of your own attention. Here is the first practical step. You redirect your body before you try to calm your mind. Modern neuroscience confirms what Stoics intuited long ago. Physical movement reduces rumination. Studies show that consistent physical training can reduce obsessive thinking by nearly 40%. That's why Stoics value discipline of the body. When the urge to check your phone hits, you move, walk, train, stretch. Let the nervous system discharge its energy instead of looping in thought. Reset here. Inhale, exhale. The second step is sharpening the mind. Silence creates a vacuum, and if you don't fill it intentionally, your fears will. Marcus Aurelius filled his mind with philosophy, reminders, and principles. You do the same. Read, journal, write one sentence that grounds you. Something like, I do not chase what does not choose me. Repeat it. Say it out loud. This is not affirmation, it is alignment. The third step is mission. Stoics believed a meaningful life is the ultimate antidote to emotional chaos. When your life has direction, silence loses its power. Ask yourself this question and answer it honestly. What did you neglect while you were waiting for their attention? Your work, your health, your purpose. Return to it. Pause again. Breathe. Here is a simple Stoic exercise you can apply immediately. For the next 72 hours, do not send a single message related to the silence. Instead, every time the urge arises, write down what you feel without acting on it. Anger, sadness, anxiety, name it. This practice, called negative visualization in Stoicism, creates distance between impulse and action, and distance is where dignity lives. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He wrote reminders to himself because he knew emotions are temporary, but actions leave permanent consequences. He warned, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. In other words, don't waste your energy chasing what may never return. Reset once more. Inhale, exhale. Here's the hardest part of the application. You accept uncertainty without demanding relief. Most people don't suffer because of silence. They suffer because they want certainty immediately. Stoicism teaches tolerance for ambiguity. Silence may mean disinterest. It may mean distraction. It may mean something else entirely. But none of those possibilities require you to abandon yourself. By staying still, you communicate strength. By redirecting energy, you rebuild momentum. And by refusing to over-explain, you preserve self-respect. This is not passive. This is disciplined action. Over time, something remarkable happens. Your nervous system calms. Your identity stabilizes. You stop measuring your worth through responses, and whether the silence breaks or not, you are no longer dependent on it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Endurance here does not mean suffering in silence. It means choosing not to amplify pain through reaction. Reset again. Let that land. This practical application prepares you for the final realization, the one most people never reach, because the ultimate Stoic power move is not what you do, it is what you refuse to do. In the next and final part, we will reveal why absence, when chosen consciously, is the strongest response to silence. Not to manipulate, not to punish, but to honor your worth. Stay with me. The final insight completes the rule. Part 5. The real power move. Most people believe power is loud. They believe it lives in words, explanations, and emotional reactions. They believe that if they just say the right thing at the right time with the right tone, they can regain control. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Real power is quiet, and the quietest power of all is chosen absence. When someone stops replying, the instinct to react is overwhelming. Your nervous system wants resolution. Your mind wants certainty. Your ego wants reassurance. And almost everyone obeys that urge. They react emotionally, they chase, they explain. They negotiate their worth in exchange for attention. Stoics refuse this trade. Pause here. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. The real Stoic power move is not a message. It is not silence used as punishment. It is not manipulation. It is absence chosen with clarity. Absence that says, I will not abandon myself just to be acknowledged. This is where most people misunderstand Stoicism. They think absence is cold, that it means you didn't care. But that's not true. Absence in the Stoic sense means you care enough about your values to not violate them under pressure. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes strong by standing upright, not by leaning on others. Chosen absence is standing upright. It is saying, my worth does not require negotiation. Reset here. Inhale, exhale. Let's talk about the fear behind silence. The fear is not really that they won't reply. The deeper fear is that if they don't reply, it confirms something painful about you. That you were not enough. That you were replaceable. That you were insignificant. Stoicism dismantles this fear at its root. Your value was never created by their attention, and it cannot be destroyed by their silence. The moment you truly understand this, chasing becomes impossible, because you no longer see silence as a verdict. You see it as information. And wise people do not argue with information. Here is the final paradox. Often when you choose absence, something shifts. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. But either way, your dignity remains intact. And dignity changes how you walk through the world. People sense it, they respond to it, they respect it. Studies on interpersonal perception show that individuals who maintain emotional composure under rejection are consistently rated as more confident, more trustworthy, and more attractive. Not because they are distant, but because they are grounded. Say this with me. My worth does not negotiate. Pause, let it settle. Now ask yourself this honestly. If they never reply again, what did you actually lose? A person who chose silence over communication. A connection that required you to shrink. An outcome you could never control. But what did you gain? Self-respect, clarity, alignment, the ability to look at yourself without regret. Marcus Aurelius warned against tying your peace to fragile things. He wrote, do not hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This is not resignation. This is freedom. Reset again. Inhale, exhale. Chosen absence is not about disappearing forever. It is about refusing to chase. If someone wants to re-enter your life, they will do so with clarity, with effort, with respect. And if they don't, you move forward without bitterness, without drama, without shame. This is the final lesson. Silence never defines you. Your response does. When you respond with restraint, direction, and dignity, you win regardless of outcome. Most people never learn this. They spend their lives reacting, chasing, and negotiating their value. Stoicism offers a different path, a quieter one, a stronger one. Remember the rule. Never chase what chooses silence. Not out of pride, not out of anger, but out of self-mastery. Final reset. Breathe in, breathe out. If this message resonated with you, carry it forward. Like this video so others can hear it. Subscribe to the channel Making Life Better for weekly Stoic wisdom that builds strength, not dependence. And when silence appears again in your life, remember this moment. Remember who you chose to be. Now comment one word below the word that defines your choice today. Dignity. Because dignity once protected becomes unshakable.